Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning, July the 22nd. Happy belated birthday to my oldest son. And we're not going to do our usual shtick when we get in here and ramble on about needless, aimless shit for 25 minutes before getting to the topic, because it's a pretty serious topic to get to in terms of Halloween fans. Tommy, Kieran, thanks for doing this. There's a legit possibility. I was just going to do a pre-produced video of this, but I'm having internet issues over here. So if I disappear, these two fine gentlemen are going to cover it the rest of the way. We have massive Halloween Ends news. And I want to get out in front of this for a specific reason. And we're going to touch on that reason in just a second. And I also want to do a little bit of damage control as well. To be fair, I think taking responsibility for stuff that comes out of your mouth on the internet while running a channel is important. But first up, guys, without getting into what we're going to talk about, how shocked were you when I dropped this news in the chat?
My response was, what the fuck? What the fuck?
I know I was thinking, like, just my whole thoughts on Halloween Ends have been like shook and like shook. Yeah, it's just crazy to think of all the possibilities now.
To everybody in our live chat, good morning. I don't know if we've ever done a stream this early. I don't think so. Tommy and I have been close a couple of times, but I don't know if it's ever been
close. But this is probably the earliest.
Well, I mean, if you're talking early, you've had some streams that were on at like 3 and 4 in the morning, but
that don't fucking count, Kieran. Come on, those were just streams that never fucking ended when they should have.
How's everybody doing this morning? Are we ready to get into some Halloween End shit? I know I am. I'm absolutely I'm floored. I'm floored by this, and I want to start off by saying, if you watch this channel normally, and again, I know different channels have different takes on sources and yada, yada, yada. But if you're new to the channel, you might be just like, hey, these guys are full of shit. And if you're not new to the channel, then you're going to remember a past conversation that we've had, whether it's on Patreon, and we did just have this conversation days ago. And all that information still applies, by the way, that we did on Patreon to what's going on here. There was just some rumblings and only so much we could say. Excuse me. So let's dive into this. First off, one of the people that is kind enough to share information with us said quite some time ago that Halloween Ends would not take place on the same night, despite what myself and basically every other major Halloween coverage YouTube channel has reported. Everybody has said it's the same night. It's 3 movies all on the same night. Except for this source. The source has been adamant that it's not. I won't say I ignored her advice. I just didn't believe it, because we talked about that leaked script that came out for Halloween Ends, and I got like 15, 20 pages into it, and I basically said, this is shit. You know, this is terrible. So this is like a double-edged sword here. We can confirm, and it should blow up on the internet tomorrow. This isn't going to be something that you have to wait weeks for. This is going to be everywhere tomorrow, maybe even later today. Unless we're wrong about this, and I'll leave that open, because at this point, who the fuck knows? But I am 99% certain the information that we're giving you will be everywhere tomorrow. And if not, then I'll eat my hat and do a spinneroonie just for Frank. So the information...
We hold you to that.
Yeah, you can hold me to that, because honestly, I didn't think it was going to play out this way. I'm as stunned as anybody. Halloween Ends does not take place on the same night as Halloween 18 and Halloween Kills. The shocking information is it doesn't even take place 1 year later. It takes place a few years after Halloween Kills. I know what you're thinking. You guys are nuts. You did heroin last night, or lots of cocaine, which may or may not be true. But Halloween Ends does not take place on the same night. And I want to give some credit here, is because we've been told, okay, one, the mask is different in Halloween Ends. They're going to market the mask different. Although I heard it was minor differences. Maybe it's a whole new mask. Because if it's years later, why the fuck can't he find a whole new mask? And the thing that worries me here is, again, channels like Wham and McRae and Champagne and ourselves and Drum Dums and Wolfman. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I can tell you I've heard every single person among that group, including ourselves, be like, yeah, this takes place on the same night. And I'm here to tell you we were wrong. Now, information that has come out about Halloween Ends, in terms of some casting rumors that we've covered, some story rumors that we've covered, that stuff seems to line up. Now, I'm really worried that leaked script that came out might have been true. It's certainly looking that way, and that has me worried for the film. It also has me worried that, yet again, well over a year from the release of a movie, these guys have had a script leak. Now, it's probably an older version of the script. I don't know why they can't, keep their shit sealed. No idea. But it's believed that all this will be revealed. Actually, it's not believed. You guys have the fucking images. Let's just be blunt about this. Tommy and Kieran have seen it. If you were on the fence about buying that Total Film magazine tomorrow, don't be. Go buy it. It's going to be worth buying, and there's a whole lot of information in it. And again, I owe the person that's been on this for a long time an apology, because guess what? That person was right, and the rest of us were wrong. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I don't really like it. I really jived with the idea that we were going to have this trilogy, 3 films, one night, or, at least back to back. Ends could have ended up with the next day, what have you. I'm very concerned about this, this news and what Ends could possibly look like. It just sounds like some kind of fan fiction story. I don't know how else you could write it off. I'm concerned. I am concerned. I hope we get some details soon that alleviate these concerns. I don't know about you. What about you, Kieran?
I don't have any concerns over, whether it's going to be a good film or not, because if it's a couple of years later, I don't know. Like, I don't know the story. I can't compare just that small idea. I mean, it's a big change, but for someone to tell me for any movie, hey, it takes place here, it takes place there, it takes place at this time, okay, what's the story? So I'm not concerned that it's going to be a better or worse movie. It just shakes my ideas of what could happen. I have my own ideas on okay, well, I'm not going to talk about anything that happens in Kills, but I've read the script. So I'm saying okay, so this happens, we go here, we go there. So how can this end? And all of those ideas of how that could end are now like, whoa, like now instead of having like 3 ideas of what could happen, I have like 1,000,000 ideas of what could happen, because that's what happens when you have a story go from one day where you know where all the pieces are at the time. You know what could or couldn't be involved. Because there's only so much that could happen in a day, right? There's only so many pieces that could move so many places in a day. Now we're going to get a scenario where 2 or 3 years later, like every character could be different. Every character could have extra training or extra, characters could turn into a lot of things psychologically or physically or mentally. Like there's a lot of things that could happen. Characters, the younger characters are going to get older, and it's crazy. Like the things that they could accomplish. Like I think that it's crazy the different amounts of ideas that could happen now, and that's what's really crazy. So I mean, it's exciting for me. It's not. I'm not upset. I'm excited.
That's fair, bud. I'm kind of coming at this from my own preconceptions of what I wanted this to look like. We know what it's going to look like at the end of the script and what characters are going to be in what positions and what have you. And I guess I've just kind of formed my own ideas about what I want to see ends look like.
And
it's going to be totally different now to a certain extent. I mean, a time skip, they still could do it, but we'll just have to see. It's going to be a while.
2 to 3 years is a good enough time to start a whole cult.
I'm gonna read a direct quote from David Gordon Green. I liked that, by the way. I like that. Sorry. This is I'm still floored. Like, I've been dealing with this for a couple hours now, and part of me feels like a jackass. Okay. I know the trolls come on the channel and other people come on the channel and be like, oh, you don't admit when you're wrong. I feel like we always admit when we're wrong. But this one, I really feel like a jackass because this person's been right the entire time. This person has been right for months. And if anybody's new to the channel, feel free to go back and track what stream it's in. And we even poked fun at the idea. They're not going to skip ahead a few years. And I have Frank Riker's comment up on screen because I think it's a good one. And don't get me wrong, Frank's a fun dude. But he's absolutely right. And I don't know if Frank has come across the article yet or not, but Frank literally just paraphrased what David Gordon Green says in the article, kind of. 1 second, guys. I'm going to multitask here. I didn't get the YouTube ad out. There we go. So Frank says, I love how people fuck around with the story and then fuck around some more when we're all just getting used to it. It's bang on. And they even admit that in the article, man. There has been people in our chat tons of times that have said, oh, well, the plan for Halloween Ends, including ourselves, has been the same for X amount of days, or the plan for Halloween Kills has been the end for X amount of days, or Halloween Kills got delayed a year, but the picture was locked then and they're not going back and touching anything. That's just not how fucking things work. And we've been on that for a long time. If you have all of a sudden 12 extra months to do something to your movie, you're probably going to take that time and be like, what about this? What about that? What about this? And not let it sit on a fucking shelf collecting dust. These people that make movies are control freaks. That's why they make movies. And that's why you hear about studio heads getting into it with writers and directors. And we're actually going to have someone on the channel who's going to dive all into this. The writer of Halloween 6, Daniel Farrens. And like, he went through hell on his. Anyways, direct quote. I'm not going to give it all away because you guys need to go out and buy the magazine tomorrow. Total Film. It's definitely worth it. This isn't from the source. This is from David Gordon Green himself. And Tommy and Kieran can back this up. The year hiatus will also feed into the structure of the film, which will jump forward a few years following the events of Halloween Kills. I'm guessing that means it's more than 2 years after the events of Halloween Kills. So there you have it.
It's certainly more than one. That's what we needed to hear.
Just a people know that we're not completely full of shit, there's your magazine spread that you'll see tomorrow. Again, apologies to the source that has had this for months. I wish we would have. I think we did as much digging as we could, but the point of this is, oh, sorry, I missed a line there. That backs up what Frank said. We had an opportunity to wake up with a new idea, meditate on it for a year, and it's evolved in a really good way. They basically state because of the delay of Halloween Kills, they went back and changed Halloween Ends. So the idea, and Kieran, you've been on this in terms of Star Wars, the idea that everything has been planned out from the beginning in certain movie trilogies and series and sagas is just not the case. Sometimes it's the case, but more often than not, if you have extra time, you're going to use that extra time.
Well, even, a lot of people think that movies are kind of set in stone, but there's so many things that shake up movies and series. A lot of times they have test audiences who are like, oh, we fucking hated this character. They go back and they reshoot a bunch of things in the movie. They change things on that. They change things based on what fans expect. Like a lot of people think that, studios and producers and writers don't go on the internet and find out what people are saying, but like they will, they'll go on and they'll be like, hey, everybody thinks that such a character is going to kill this character, die, do this or whatever. And they're right. And then the writer's like, fuck, if everyone knows this or thinks this, like I must be getting too cliche. I have to change this. Like, it's hard to sit on an idea for a year and be like, like this is where we're going. So this is what we're going to do. Like these people are creative and they come up with new things. And there might even be a hot tub scene now. So, like 2.5 years is a long time. Maybe everyone has a hot tub. Everyone in Haddonfield has a hot tub now.
Haddonfield's just rich and glorious and has all these mansions now and they've rebuilt and it's all news. I have no idea. And I also have there's nothing to really confirm that we're going with the mine shaft stuff. But considering the mine shaft stuff comes from the same person that said the film takes place a few years later, months ago, it's hard not to think that there's some validity there. So I would also suggest that, and I think we've said this publicly on the YouTube channel. I know we've said it on Patreon, is we've talked about the Halloween Ends mask is going to be different. Now, it was hinted to us that it would be, and this is from a completely different person, that it would just be subtle differences enough to be like, hey, here's your Trick or Treat Studios mask. Go buy a new mask because this is different. You would think, guys, jumping ahead a few years, you're probably looking at new coveralls and a new mask. Like, why not? I'm not saying I want that. I'm saying when you're talking about the marketing machine and the money dollar bills, why wouldn't you have a completely new mask years later? Why wouldn't you have completely new coveralls years later? They're going to milk this for all it's worth. And I don't know how I feel about that. I understand as like an intellectual property trying to make money. I get it. But from a storytelling perspective, the fact that this has come to light, I got a nervous pit in my stomach, if I'm being honest. I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, but like, it's like you set yourself up really good to tell the whole story in one night. And now we're going to jump ahead. What I'm guessing, what does a few mean? A few is usually more than two, right? Yeah. So you're looking at 3+ years later. I'm assuming it's not 5 because they would have just said half a decade. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the mask and the coveralls? Because my guess is they're going to be completely new, and it would line up with a report about them at least changing that we've had in the past.
I mean,
sorry, by the way, if anybody wants to support the channel, you can send in a super chat. We will read your question or comment on air. We're only going to go for like another half an hour max. This is not a full Fandom Empire live, but it's a hell of a morning, and it's going to spread like wildfire either later today or tomorrow.
I want new action figures. So make a new mask, make new coveralls, give him a fancy new weapon, something he hasn't used before, maybe a flower vase, smash that over someone's head, anything. But no, I mean, story-wise, I like a new mask. I mean, we have so many masks. Does it really matter? Like, there's no sacred. There's nothing sacred about Michael's mask in terms of it can't change. I mean, there is. I mean, if they're, if they made him blonde,
it can't come off. We can't see Michael Myers' face.
But the idea of it not being able to change and the creases in the face being different, the vague color of the white, or things that happen with that, I don't think there's a lot sacred about those things in the mask. So if he picks up another mask, cool, as long as it's not like it's got a clown wig on it or something like that, or like they get like a mohawk Michael or something like that. Like we don't want anything like that. But if they change the general shape of the mask, shape being a funny word to use, but that doesn't bother me so much. And same thing, like, he can't switch to orange coveralls unless he's been to jail. But, those things don't matter to me. I think, I want cool new action figures and I want them to look different. So that's cool with me.
Tommy?
And the idea of the word few being used, if it's just two, it's usually couple.
Yeah.
A couple years. Few is going to be 3 to 5.
The interesting thing is there's some events, without going spoilers. Tommy, I'll let you touch on the mask and coveralls in a second. And I see we have some super chats coming in. We will get to those. Is the fact that there's something that happens in Halloween Kills towards the end of the movie, that would make sense to be resolved on the same night. And now that it's not, I really don't know why it's in there. So, I'm with Frank, and I don't know how. Frank, maybe you can clarify in the chat how literal you're being about being, worried about this. But like, I'm kind of with you now, because it literally looks like they had a plan for 3 movies in one night. We know they had a plan for 2 movies in one night, because when they originally made 2018, they pitched it as 2 movies. And Carpenter basically said to them, why don't you focus on one for now and go from there? So while Halloween Kills changed a little bit from their initial plan for 2 movies, the belief was they were planning it all in one night. And in that Total Film magazine tomorrow that you're going to see tomorrow, and as one of our sources said months ago that we covered on here, they have changed the plan. The pandemic has allowed them to change the plan, but instead of just altering it a little, they have exited the highway and are off on a ramp going who knows where, doing who knows what. Tommy, before we get to the super chats, man, your thoughts on there being a new mask and new coveralls? I would think they'd be completely new and not the burnt, crispy stuff we see in Kills.
Yeah. I mean, if it's that kind of a time skip, I think that's a fair assumption to make. I don't know how we're going to get them, but I'm open to it. We've seen some interesting alterations in the past. Jeez. This could go so many ways. It could go great. It could go just the worst ever. So there is some concern about that. Who knows though? Maybe we'll get okay. Well, we'll read that. Frank Riker in the chat says, "I'm scared because it shows inconsistencies with their filmmaking and decide what to make on the fly instead of mapping it out." And that's a true, valid concern.
I think what's scarier, Tommy, about that, and you guys can tell me how you feel, is they did map it out. And then they said, just because it was a pandemic, yeah, you know what? Fuck that movie. We're going to go do this movie. And they openly admit it. And it's just like, oh, I mean, do you know what movie did that? The Rise of Skywalker, and it didn't go very well.
You fucking got me, Sean. You fucking beat me to it, because I was getting ready to say they're going to Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi, where we had the fucking broom boy at the end of the Last Jedi and shit. And here's
I don't think I've
cat
ever
pissing me the fuck off.
I don't think I've ever admitted this, and Kieran's going to have fun with this one. Now that it's been a couple years, like, I can totally see, even though I don't agree with what happens, that The Last Jedi is a better put together film than The Rise of Skywalker, and it's not even really close. And that scares the shit out of me for Halloween Ends, knowing that they were just like, no, we need to go way off this way.
That means Kills is going to be really good, though.
Yeah, maybe.
So I don't know if I should ask you this after or here, but does that mean we're just going to be negative for like 2 years now?
Well, it'd probably go about a year.
Yeah, Negative Nancy 24/7.
Fuck Halloween Ends. I want them to reboot the whole thing.
Yeah, no, you know they've done some. They've gone creative directions before, and it's worked out well, in my opinion. I started this show out by giving kind of a worried, negative outlook, and yeah, it's still there. But there's also some room for optimism because we could be surprised with something we never considered, and it could just make the film so much better. Hopefully, that's the direction it goes.
Yeah, I don't like to compare any. I don't like to compare it in any way to like, Star Wars or things like that. It sucks that. It sucks that we think if they don't have a planned out direction that they stuck with, that seems like a negative thing. But like I've said this before, I never get upset about a movie before it comes out because I have no idea. They could have thought of something better and be like, "Fuck, this is way better than what we thought." It might be better, it might be worse. I can't think about what the possibilities there are. It's the same team, right? There's not. A new writer didn't step in and say it. It's the same people. So in their opinion, it was better than what they had before. Or, I mean, maybe there's another reason to change it. But I think it's fine. And I really love 18. I know 18 is not everyone's favorite, but I think it's amazing. So I'm not going to take the staff who made that movie and say that, oh, well, they're making the wrong decision. I'm like, well, you guys impressed me already. Like 18 is a great movie to me. I think it's amazing. Love how they did almost everything. There's not a lot of things that upset me at all about 18. So I'm going to give them the I'm going to give them a long leash on this. Like you guys thought this was a better way to go. I'm not going to get upset about it until I see it. There's no way you could tell me that, Michael Myers is going to wear pink. And I'd be like, well, that kind of sounds dumb, but you guys have already done something I like. So go ahead, show.
For sure. I like the only thing I don't like about 18. I know a lot. There's like 18's. I think more people like 18 than dislike 18. Is just at times 18 doesn't feel like a Halloween movie, and there's not a lot of suspense in it. But I still think it's a really well put together modern horror movie. Like really, really well. I think the thing that concerns me though, and I'm not going to be overly negative. And you shouldn't be overly negative just because the movie takes place a few years later. The thing you should be concerned about is they openly admit to completely changing the plan to the third movie. That should be a concern. And, I don't know what that means. And some people are going to be like, oh, well, what does this mean for Halloween Kills? Do they think Halloween Kills isn't going to be received well? And then there's always and sometimes this happens, is information about a movie leaks. And it's like, okay, well, we have time to change it, so let's change it so it's not on par with the leaks. And that's usually not the right way to go. But hey, what do I know? Really quickly here, though, I want to give a shout out before we get into the super chats to Mr. Drum Dums himself, aka Lee McCoy. Happy birthday, man. You don't look a day older than 31. I won't say your actual age. I can't believe that that's your actual age that appeared on Facebook, though, because it's like, I think you're fibbing, man. You got to be a lot younger than that. But happy birthday to Lee McCoy. Don't forget the Hallow stream with those guys is on. I don't know the time Saturday night, but I think it's 8 or 9 p.m. And you got Lee and Jimmy and Dave and Wham and Wolfman. And maybe I'm assuming they'll touch on this stuff just because, it's not he said, she said. It's going to be released in a magazine.
Yeah, it'll be out. It'll be out by then. So
there's no reason to be like, oh, we can't talk about that. So although I know their stream is dedicated towards Halloween Kills, and I hope it goes well. This, it's a shocking morning. And again, I'm going to eat my hat here and say, apologize to the person that has had this right for months. We generally don't run something unless there's two people that can verify it. And there wasn't, and technically there still isn't, but the combination of this person and the actual fucking magazine makes me go, okay, yeah, it's legit, and credit to them. Frank Riker sends a $5 super chat. I have a theory because Laurie has been chasing Michael for a few years and ends thanks to McBride and Green. She is now the Reverend from Halloween 4. Wow.
They're starting to look more and more like.
You know, I want to give a couple other people some credit here too, that you've seen on this channel. My fiance Jade and my cousin Ray, who is working on Haddonfield's Vanish with us, and he will actually be back on the channel next month. So you'll see Ray again next month. They've been saying for a long time it made no sense for Halloween Ends to be on the same night, because really it's not Halloween at that point. You're working with November the 1st. And I find it, again, you know, it'd be hilarious is if we find out tomorrow this is all bullshit. But I don't see how that's possible since we've seen the actual magazine. So
this person printed up their own magazine to throw us off.
Yeah. Wow. Wouldn't that be something? Hey, this is for not running my fake scoop month ago. Here's a fake magazine. No, it's not the case, sadly. And changes are coming. But anyways, those two have been saying for a long time it didn't make sense for Halloween Ends to be on the same night. That said, though, Halloween 2 from 1981 really mostly takes place on November the 1st and not October 31st. So, you know, I know there was a thing where Michael Myers only shows up on Halloween. But I think that's I don't think that's as prominent anymore. Let's see, what else do we got here?
I agree with that.
KJ says re-spinneroonie. Now can you dig it, sucker? Yeah, I know. I still have to fulfill that. I have not forgotten. Thanks for reminding Frank. Jerry, which by the way, I thought you were someone else the other day. I was going to reach out to you on Patreon, but I'll just say it here, man. I messaged somebody that comes on the channel a lot and is very generous to the channel. And I know sometimes he uses burner accounts just so people don't get all over him. And I was like, hey, are you Jerry in the chat? And he's like, yeah, man. And then he came in the chat with his other account. And then I found out after the show, he's like, no, man, I was just fucking with you. I'm not Jerry. He's like, whoever that is was just very kind to your channel. So, Jerry, I feel like I've seen you on someone else's channel. I don't really know, man. Apologies. I thought you were someone else, man. I appreciate the support, you signing up for Patreon. That was incredible, which, by the way, you guys can all check out our Patreon program where we talked about some of this shit a long time ago. Which is at the following link, if I can find. Maybe I don't have it on here because we were using Streamlabs the other day.
I think Patreon, that might have been the first Patreon that you had me on.
That one? Really? Wow. That's something.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be it's by far not the first show I've been on or first time I talked about Halloween, but I think it was the first time you said, like, hey, you want to join me on Patreon? Sure.
Wow. Well, this is a fitting day then. Anyways, Jared says, at Fandom Empire, if Michael goes on a rampage / Allison goes insane a year gap, would it let things breathe to get to see some of the aftermath that could work? Well, it sounds like it's going to be 3 years or 3 or 4 years. You know, I started the stream thinking 2 or 3 years, and then I reread the piece and reread the message, and I was like, oh, well, one would think a few means at least 3. You know, usually if it's 2, they'll say a couple, like Kieran pointed out earlier. At this point, I have no fucking idea. But you know, the one thing that lines up really good is we have been consistent about saying they are casting 2 new prominent cast members for Halloween Ends, and that they would be heavily involved in the movie. Now, maybe not the starring role, but they could be the supporting role. And to do that on the same night as Halloween Kills, you'd be like, well, where were they the entire night during Halloween Kills? This seems to line up more with that now that it takes place a few years later. So the pieces are starting to come together. Again, I can't really believe that this is happening. And I see Kevin in the chat says, Dave McRae's not going to be happy about this news. He might not be, but maybe he will. I don't know. I haven't talked to Dave about it, to be honest. But I know Dave, like us, like every other YouTube channel that covers this shit, was positive it happens on the same night. And to my knowledge, only one person in this space anyways has had this right, and they wish to remain anonymous. So
I have a feeling Dave will not be upset crazy about it because he's such a even-keeled guy, but
oh, there we go, Tommy. Patreon.com/Fandom Empire. You can join the Patreon today if you choose to support us on that level. The Rusty Lion says, hey dudes, hope all 3 of you are having a marvelous day. It's only 10:09 in the morning. It's crazy to think there's a whole other day to go still. And we have Fandom Empire now tonight, where Mike and I are going to be talking about the Fear Street trilogy as a whole. So yeah, that's sort of where we are with everything. We'll move to some Q&A now. If you guys want to, ends is all ends is all flashbacks. But you know what? We've also been reporting, and who knows how much has changed, that ends would have flashbacks. And if ends takes place a few years later, it certainly makes sense to have some flashbacks. Maybe it's some flashbacks to fill in the few years.
You're right. Yeah, it's all flashbacks, but because it's a few years later, it actually takes place on the same night, but told from 3 years later. So it still all takes place in the same night, but it's told by someone telling it 3 years later.
They'll do it the same way they did Fear Street Part 3.
Which I haven't seen yet.
What do you think people would think about that? Like the majority of the movie that's giving away the plot of Fear Street. I guess I'll stop there.
Yeah, screw off, Tommy. I haven't seen 2 yet.
Well, that's your own problem. We've been talking about it. We've spoiled it on this channel.
Fine, I'll watch it today.
I just, the thing that surprises me is them getting out in front of this and releasing it in a public format prior to even going to see Halloween Kills, because they had no reason to release that information right now. They had none. Why do it? And this is definitely different. Again, we're going to switch to Q&A, guys. If you want to be guaranteed to have your question or comment read on air, you can feel free to support the channel, send in a super chat, but we will try to pick out some normal chats as we go here. Kieran, I know you said you're not going to be overly negative about this, but how much of I don't want to say culture shock, but like how much has your thoughts on basically everything involving the next 2 movies changed in a matter of 2 hours? Because for me, it's definitely not the same anymore. I'm not saying it's negative, but now it's kind of like, oh, well, this changed. You see a lot of YouTube channels come out here and they'll have their like 10-second promo before the video, and they'll be like, this changes everything. And it really doesn't. So cue it up here.
I mean,
this changes everything.
Oh. It does change everything. I think I said that already, didn't I?
I'm still reeling.
Well, see, if I had the pick, like if I was a studio head and someone said, like, here's 2 things I could, you need to pick one right now, like in The Simpsons with the president. Pick one of these 5 plans. Pick one of these 2 plans. One happens 2, 3, 4 years later. One happens on the same night. Which one would you like? And you can't read them. I would pick the same night part. But,
I was elected to lead, not to read.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. But having to read them is the important part. Like being like, which one would you take? Like, yeah, sure, I'd take that one. It's an unknown quantity though, so I'm not going to get upset about it. However, if we're talking about the different things that can happen, it changes everything. I think it changes everything in a lot of ways because I haven't read it, which means, and I said the possibilities are so much different now. Because we knew that with what we know that happens in Halloween Kills, we know what players are still on the field, where they are. We know, kind of what's going to be the major charge against Michael. Spoiler: Michael doesn't die in Halloween Kills, but sorry guys, I fucked it up. Or maybe he dies and then he gets dragged off to a mine shaft and an old hobo nurses him back to health. But anyways, we kind of know based on kills or ends being right after kills, like, hey, this is where the people are. These are probably the most likely people to come after Michael, do this, do that. Where could it end? What house could it end? If it's on the same night, we know probably what town it's going to take place in and what buildings are still in play, which characters are still in play. 2 to 3 years later, adding 2 new characters, we don't know at all. Like it could be anything that could take place anywhere, anywhere in America. It could take place in lots of different locations. There's lots of people that could be added in. Could be the Cult of Thorn. Could be lots of things that come into place. Could be many things. The characters could change so much. Laurie could be this or be that. Any of the other characters could be this or could be that in 2-3 years. They could be more scared. They could be retracting into their homes. They could be scared, or they could be training for 2 to 3 years. In much the same way that Laurie was, ready for Michael in 18. There's a lot of things that could happen, and it's just nuts to think of the amount of ideas that could happen. Because, like I said before, we're all mapping it out, and we're all like, us who have read the script are like, this is what's probably going to happen, but it could be a little variation on that. Now we're like fucking Loki time streams everywhere. It could be fucking anything.
It just turns out the MCU divided universe ends up the multiverse ends up
Kang could show up.
Halloween Kills, which goes on to Kevin's comment. He goes to California to a posh private high school to stalk a teacher who faked her death. Her name is Carrie Tate, and it turns out that Halloween H2O is actually the sequel to Halloween Kills in some sort of fucked up multiverse. I just wow.
What a shit movie.
I want to go back to, I'm gonna butcher this person's first name, but I think it's Mertaliza Barnes. Asks Sean, where does Halloween Ends begin? You've read the first 3 pages or so, right? Let's go back and talk about what I had said. I said I had read a fake script that I believed it was fake because it seemed like fan fiction and did not happen on the same night. And then I said I believed one. I had read the first few pages of one that was real. Clearly, the one that I thought was real, that was written very close to how Halloween Kills is written, is not real because it takes place on the same night. And the one that I thought was fake is certainly looking really real right now. So I know there's people doing some damage control on other YouTube channels being like, no, the Halloween Ends script didn't leak and the details aren't out there, when in fact it's very clear they are, but they were so fucking different from everything else that anybody had heard that here we are. Sorry, guys. I'm still trying to keep up with the chat. A bunch of people are saying the same night. I totally get that. I totally understand that. Frank also said the studios could make Michael a robot, and they know we would be stupid enough to see it. How true?
Why can't Michael be a robot?
5000. There you go. Codenamed Mikey.
I just
here's an interesting thing, though, to think about. Cult of Thorn. Here's an interesting thing to think about. We know that the script that we read is indeed the 100% at last script
for Halloween Kills?
Yeah.
Well, when did you read?
117 pages?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say, who knows? Maybe we see a little bit of a different ending or little pieces added in to make the change that they made fit.
Frank says they should have never announced Kills and Ends together. You know what, Frank? If they didn't announce Kills and Ends together, Frank is just on fire today. We should just have Frank on here. I'm pretty sure he's working. Oh, I'm echoing through someone's side. I don't know if it's clear.
Yeah. Frank's way cooler than me, and definitely way cooler than Sean. We could probably still keep Tommy on the show, but it could just be Tommy and Frank, and we'll just fuck off.
Tommy just exited stage right for some reason, and now he's back. Frank said they should have never announced Kills and Ends together, and normally I would have disagreed with that. But when you think about it, guys, as people who know what happens at the end of Halloween Kills, and most people do, just because of an inability to contain shit. Frank's right. Like, how more effective would the Halloween Kills ending be if you didn't know Halloween Ends was coming? Because by the end of the movie, you'd be like, oh, there's going to be one more. Sweet. But going into Kills, you already know there's going to be one more.
I don't know. One of the main, I think one of the big tools that Hollywood has right now is to tell you we have a trilogy. Because there are so many people out there who are crazy about having to know about series and backstories and things like that. There's so many people that love that it's going to bring out casual fans to let you know that, hey, this is a series. Like, it's weird to think about that because the people in the chat are, we love Halloween and we'd go see it if it was, if they told us it was only an hour long and it was just kind of a half movie, we'd still go see it. But for people who are kind of casual fans, telling someone that there's a trilogy makes people want to see it more. It makes it sound bigger. It makes it more of a spectacle for people who are just regular moviegoers and choose what they want to pick and see. So and reeling in casual fans is what they need to do, because like Frank said already, they could tell us it's a fucking robot and we'd still go and see it probably.
I don't know how many times we've been on this channel and other people have been on other channels and said, as much as everybody wants to make, look, if you're watching this stream right now, you're probably either one, a fan of Fandom Empire. That's probably the least likely. Two, a super diehard Halloween fan, or three, just someone who loves horror movies. But they're not marketing these movies for us because they already have us. We're already going to see the movie, which, by the way, Fandom Empire, I'll be seeing the movie one day early. Anyways, we'll, they already have us. They want to go market to Tommy's wife and to Kieran's wife and to the neighbor next door and to the guy down the street who doesn't shower for 3 weeks. They want to market it to all those people. That's who they want to market the movie for, people that they don't have already.
You know what? Like, I quite often say I would like to go to a movie today, and I go on the page and say, what would I like to see here? And that's when I go to see fucking Transformers or something like that, or something that I'm like, do I really like, have I been waiting for it to come out? No. Would I like to eat movie popcorn and watch robots blow each other up? Sure. Why not? It'll be fun. And that's who you're trying to get. That's who you're always trying to get when you're Hollywood, because if you're any of these big fandoms or stuff like that, you got all these people in your back pocket, but you want to grab in the people who are like me, who love to just go to the theater and say, like, man, I got Friday off. What should I watch? And I might, I might go to see something that I wouldn't go to see normally. Like, I was considering going to see The Conjuring, even though I haven't seen either of the other two. But it was like, but I want to eat popcorn and have movies and see big screen and have things yell at me really loudly. And, I'm deaf. I need to be yelled at by speakers on both sides yelling at me. And that's who you got to get. You got to get those people.
I just lost my train of thought for a second here. There was something in the chat I wanted to point out other than just this super chat. Oh, sorry. Really quickly. There's like 80 people in here. Thank you for the support this morning. It's 10:23 in the morning and we're talking about fucking Halloween movie news. Which I know Dave used to do his streams at 11 a.m. in the morning. That's just not how we do things, because usually we're all at work. But we're not right now. So it just so happens we're lucky. But there's 80 of you guys in here. There's only 20 something likes. We'll continue the stream for a bit longer. I can't talk to how long these guys can stay on, and I definitely can't stay on all morning. But please take a second, like Anthony just said, hit that like button. The way YouTube works is it doesn't really matter if there's 500 of you in here. If nobody's hitting the like button, YouTube is not going to share the stream around more. And I think you guys would all acknowledge that this news is worth sharing. So if you guys can take a second, hit that like button. There's 80 of you guys and gals in here. Let's hit the like button. Let's get up to at least 50 or 60 likes, and we'll continue with this stuff. But seriously, hitting that like button takes 2 seconds, doesn't cost you anything, really helps us out going forward. So yeah, hit that like button. I want to go up to Ryan's point, which I think is an excellent point, and I never pieced it together. Maybe they're trying to jump into present day when the movie comes out in 2022. That would move it ahead 4 years. And I do think that's doable. What do you guys think? What does the chat think? Does the chat think that this is they don't really have reason to do that necessarily, but it would bring them up to present day? Not to mention, when are you officially considered a senior citizen? Isn't it 65? I think it's 65.
65 is when you get your pension most of the time, I believe.
So Michael Myers has his pension if they do it in 2022 instead of 2021.
So Halloween 2018 launched October 19th, 2018, which is probably more like October 18th. So Ends is going to be off from what they wanted. Or excuse me, Kills. So Ends would be their chance, to go back and realign some things. I think that would be very much appropriate. I could get behind that. I don't know about the whole story, but I could get behind that sentiment.
And I mean, this is clearly the extremely official poster for Halloween Ends, right?
It looks like a penis.
Like those of you that are new to the channel right now are going, what the fuck is he holding up? Those of you that have been around the channel know exactly what I'm holding up. So smash that like button, people. It helps. And don't forget to hit subscribe too. Because if this guy wasn't ignorant enough to dismiss what he heard months ago, even though we covered, that guy right there. Someone had this, and that person deserves the credit. And I wish this person would allow themselves to be named, but I understand why they wouldn't. You know who you are, and you were spot on. We're not ending the show. We're just playing some music in the background to ease the tension. Toronto Freddy sends in a $2 super chat. I heard the shape will show up in Far From Home.
Spoiler alert.
All right, guys.
Everybody dies.
Take a picture of this because it doesn't happen very often.
Hang on.
Everybody dies. All the spider people get killed.
I'll even backtrack on that. I was partially wrong. I mean, we did cover the information. I just said it wasn't real. No, you're very good at telling people like, "Hey, dude, I was wrong. We're gonna do this." You do a really good job of letting people know when you got something wrong because you're really proud of your success rate. So, but I'm really thankful that the people that were echoing again on your end, Kieran, because Tommy's muted. I don't know if you have access to your headset or mute yourself. Testing. That's better. I'm really happy. No, we're still. Hang on, I'm going to mute Kieran, see if that makes a difference. I'm really happy. Yeah, it was you, Kieran. I'm really happy that the people that have been kind enough to share information with us over the last couple of years have had an incredible track record. And even though we're a small little tiny YouTube channel at just over 3,000 subs that do a few streams a week, and we have fun, we move from the more serious streams, and this one's a little more of a serious one this morning, to, hey, Tuesday nights we have a shit ton of fun. Kieran has his Rick and Morty show. We have Fandom Empire Live, and Fandom Empire Now is on Thursdays with Mike and I. IPCs tomorrow. I can't for the life of me remember what they're talking about tomorrow. But Zach and Ben do that. We got so much stuff happening on the channel. Kieran reviews new Rick and Morty episodes every Sunday night at 11:35 p.m. Eastern. We're really lucky to be in the position that we're in. And if you want to click the subscribe button, it definitely goes a long way. But I have no problem sitting here and saying when we get something wrong. And while we had the correct information and even shared it with you guys months ago, I sat there and said that it wasn't believable and it was a fan fiction. And that person was owed an apology, and that person's getting an apology right now because they were spot on. By the way, I don't know who this is. Is CM Punk playing a significant role or just a cameo? That is one rumor we heard. We legitimately heard that CM Punk, aka it's Phil Brooks, right? That's his real name. Phil Brooks. Couldn't remember if Phil or Paul. May in fact be appearing in Halloween Ends. I would assume it's just a cameo, since it sounds like Mr. Phil Brooks is going to be very busy for the next little while. I would assume that it's just a cameo if he appears at all. But I stand by that. The conversations absolutely happened. And if you actually, someone tweeted out yesterday, congratulations to Phil Brooks on his return. Excuse me. And everybody thought it was going to be return to wrestling, even though it's not official yet. It's like return to horror movies. And that's a day before this comes out. So you got to wonder, maybe it has something in the Total Film magazine. I don't know. By the way, I was so caught up with reading our sources' proof that
Jade just sent me the picture that you shared, even though we had it up on screen. Even though I was so busy reading the article for the proof that she provided to back up her earlier statements, like there's a brand new Halloween Kills picture staring at us, and I'm like, I just realized, oh, that picture's never been shared before. That's brand new of Michael Myers in a certain location. So that was cool, and I like the picture. That's actually, I don't know if you guys still have access to the article and didn't delete it or anything, but what I shared to you guys, that's actually, even though it's shit quality, that's one of my favorite pictures of this movie so far. Like, that is a badass shot. I love that. It's great. And again, if you guys were on the fence about buying Total Film magazine tomorrow, which we have not revealed everything, not even close, it's clearly worth buying, not just for Halloween Kill stuff, but for Halloween Ends. Just wow. It's truly oh man. What was the OMG for, Tommy? Is everything all right?
What?
You posted OMG in the chat.
When?
Right there, unless there's a fake Tommy B here.
Must have been in response to a comment. Look, we've been getting lots of comments. I've been active in the chat. Unless there's another Tommy B in the chat.
A fake Tommy B. I don't know if I can handle that. Spider Boy says, this is the weirdest news update I've seen today. I don't really know what you mean about that, because it's about as legit as it gets. But I can understand it being weird in terms of, hey, everybody and their aunt and uncle, with the exception of one person that we know, has been saying it takes place on the same night. And it very evidently does not.
Maybe he's talking about the CM Punk update.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, Daniel Bryan thing got made official last night, and I'm assuming CM Punk is, I mean, we all know what event happens in September for AEW. Not to get off Halloween fully, because we're not going to do that. But like, there's an event in September in Chicago that he was heavily rumored to appear at a couple years ago. Why not now? Would make sense. Anyways, the Kills trailer made it seem like Michael was fighting dragons. Let's see what Jerry has to say. Fandom Empire, by saying it's a trilogy, it conditions you to say, to see the full story, I need to set aside October 12th, 2021 and October 2023. It locks money in, and customers in. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's from a marketing standpoint. That's correct. You know, you didn't go see The Force Awakens, for example, and be like, I wonder if there'll be an episode 8 or episode 9, right? It's like, before Halloween 18 was even released in theaters, we already knew that the intent was to make 2 films, and they only made 1, but we all knew 2. And look, it's the first ever Halloween movie to make $250 million worldwide on a $10 million production budget that does not include marketing. Yeah, they were going to make sequels. When you make that much money, you make sequels. Just like, even though Ends is supposed to be the end, if Ends, it won't. But if it did, Halloween Ends somehow makes like $400 million. You know what's coming in a couple years. You won't be waiting until 2028. That's mega money off of movies that don't cost very much money to make. And we still stand by the things that we reported on Patreon the other day, by the way. They got first access. A skeleton level crew for this movie, a much smaller production, a more intimate story. And I can tell you that even in the little bit of that magazine that we've seen, it backs that up. So there you go. There you go. It's a lot of fun. Sorry, I'm having a really hard time keeping up with the chat, guys. I don't know if it's lagging for you. It's lagging really bad for me. I don't know if it's my internet.
It hasn't been lagging too much, but it's definitely been active, which has been very encouraging because, you know, it's 10:30 in the morning.
To be clear, Spidey, we Halloween Kills script's basically accessible to everybody online if you can go find it at places you find it at. It's been out there for a long time. The Halloween Ends script, there's no 100% proof that it has leaked, other than the same person that had that stuff is the same person that was saying that the movie does not take place on the same night and would take place a couple years later, although that might even be slightly off. which would seem to line up with, that person is probably correct.
Like in the position of the average fan, I wouldn't spend, a good chunk of time looking for an end script right now, especially since we haven't seen kills on the screen. That's where I feel.
Here's another one that we've been all over for a long time. Yeah, everybody hit that like button. 80 of you guys, 47 likes, 80 people, 47 likes. Let's get this mother canucking likes up to 60. 60 people. Let's get it up to 60 at least. Come on. It's been a fun stream. It's been an informative stream. Not a whole lot of bullshit. Straight to the good stuff. Halloween Fan Official says, will Ends film this fall? Look, I know what James Jude Courtney said. I know what he said, but I'm telling you, like we've told you with a bunch of other shit, Halloween Ends does not begin filming until January 2022. It's not fall. I know he said something else on a cameo appearance. Maybe he has some fittings to do or there's some minor behind the scenes stuff. Principal photography is scheduled for January 2022 in Wilmington, North Carolina. Take it for what you will. And they film there because they get the tax break. So why not? I also like Toronto Freddy saying this. It's not a trilogy. It's a 4-movie story arc. Therefore, it's a fucking quadrilogy. Unless, Freddy, after Halloween Ends, someone else commented this in the chat earlier, but I don't remember who it is, and I don't think I have access to it. The 5th movie in the story ends up being Halloween Never Ends. Why not? I mean, they're doing this. So let's get the chat involved in this again. Sean, you got to do this more often. Living my work day right now. Well, the problem with that, dude, is generally I'm just getting home from my first shift around this time, and that's usually family time. So would love to, but I don't know how likely that is. Halloween Fan Official also says Chris is doing conventions in the fall. Yeah, no, it's I know a lot of people and some bigger channels ran with, oh, he said this, so it's fall. We here, and I don't know if these guys are willing to back it up or not, but we have said for the longest time this movie is not filming until 2022. So maybe people will stop questioning what we're saying here, or maybe they won't. Normally we can't because we all work in education. So summer is good. Summer is good, except for you make less money, in which case it's not good. So.
Yeah, nah, that sucks.
I was feeling that this morning. Looking at my bank account, like, what the fuck? God damn it. I should stop buying so much shit.
Wow. I'll tell you what, though. Like, think about it. I know we were talking about the mask and the coveralls earlier. Like, to me, it makes all the sense now. I wouldn't be surprised if the mask that we see in Halloween Ends, I know we were told minor differences, but why would he still be wearing the burnt mask and the burnt coveralls 3+ years later? Unless the mask is so melted that if he takes it off, like he's literally going to rip part of his face off, or the mask just decays over a few years and it just looks really gruesome and disgusting, which is possible because, I mean, if he is in a mine shaft for all this time, then maybe that's what's happening. Not so good. Anyways, can we see some nudity in Ends at least? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. And Jade also says, that or I'm in studio working and he can't do shows. Yeah, if we did shows at this time, it'd be on I almost had to do this from a cell phone because as we were getting ready to go live earlier, the internet's like, yeah, you know what? No internet for you. Go fuck yourself.
Fuck you and your news.
Oh my God. Let's ask the chat. Let's get the chat involved in this a little bit. Do you guys think, knowing that Halloween Ends will now be a few years after Halloween Kills, according to this source and Total Film Magazine, do you think it'll be the same mask, just deteriorated from Halloween Kills? Or do you guys think we're getting a brand new, clean mask? Probably a mask we've never seen before, but is obviously in the vein of Michael Myers. Do you think it's going to be the mask from Kills or a brand new mask? My money is on a completely brand new mask and something different for Ends. What's the chat think? Let's see what the chat thinks, and we'll read them in a second. Kieran, if you're a betting man, what are you going with?
About the mask?
Deteriorated or brand new? And when I say brand new, I'm not talking about the same mask.
No,
Right.
I think I'll have a new mask. I think it'll look more new. I don't know if it'll be, depending on where he's hiding out, if it'll be dirty or weathered or whatever. But I think there's a good chance it's a new mask.
Tell me, B, what do you got? What are you saying? What if it's a totally different killer? Nah.
You know what? Get out.
Get out.
He's back.
Nah. So let's clarify something a little bit. When you say brand new mask, do you mean a brand new mask real world or a brand new mask Halloween world? Like it's totally different. It's recognizable as it's not the same thing.
Oh,
same mask.
it'll be the same. It'll be the same type of mask and stuff like that. But he'll have found himself a new something to cover his face rather than that burnt one. I think.
Yeah, I think it would be something in the vein of, like, I don't think it'll be Halloween 4, even though some people really like that mask. It definitely won't be 5. But I could see it being something in the vein of the traditional Halloween 6 or H2O mask.
So you think it will be the same mask canonically as he used in 78 and 2018?
No.
Okay, so you don't. Okay.
No, I think it'll be a completely brand new mask that he grabs from some store. I think there's only 2 options. You're going new, and it's not going to be a new version of the 1978 mask. It would be a new version, just period. You could tell from the white face and the hair, oh, hey, that's supposed to be Michael Myers, but it's a brand new mask.
Sure.
You know what's a little bit telling to me is those 2 posters right behind you. Them being focused on the mask and the differences between the mask. So if they had, this new mask that they made for 18 that looks completely different, has scratches, it's weathered, it's supposed to be, his old mask after being that, long, and the burnt mask. It's funny because that supports both different opinions. One, that they're saying this is the mask, and it's not just part of the poster, it's the whole fucking poster. It's this mask burnt, and then does that mean it's going to be another evolution of that mask? Or does that mean it's going to change and be a totally new mask? Because the next poster is obviously going to be another close-up mask poster. It wouldn't make sense for them to do, 1, 2, and then something completely fucking different. So
I think that there's a pretty good chance that if they're going to give us a different mask, it's going to be a completely different mask canonically, so on and so forth. I don't see them trying to stretch it out again and saying, "Oh no, this is still canonically the same mask as Michael used in 78." That'd just be a bit much for me. If there's anything I really liked about the Rob Zombie film, it's in the first one. We see the whole mask obsession and all the different mask making. I really appreciated that. I'd like to see that revisited eventually in some capacity or another.
So I think the other thing this does is if they've turned off their highway that was heading towards the same day of all the movies. The movies all took place on the same night, and they've obviously decided, you know what, we're not doing that. I think anything's possible at this point. I'm not saying Frank's comment of the bandage masks are gonna work, even though I'd be totally down for that and still go back and wish, you know what, he should have just wore that the entire movie and Halloween Ends. That would have been cool. Or Halloween 4. That would have been really cool. I would say, and I like the Rob Zombie point, even though I don't like the movies, the Rob Zombie masks are definitely a different take on the original Michael Myers mask. So I'm going to pull this up. This is by no means official. I literally just Googled this. So if we look at these masks right here, they're obviously they're some, to me, they're not quite exact to the original Halloween mask. To me, I don't know if it's the stands that they're on. The shape is just not right. But I wouldn't be surprised if the new mask is some sort of new take on this mask, similar to what Rob Zombie did. The one thing that I can guarantee you, though, is the mask is definitely not going to be the same as it is in Halloween Kills. And if it is the exact same mask, it won't look that way because it'll have had 3 or 4 years to deteriorate. You know?
I wonder if it's possible that like the burnt melted parts that are on the side are just come off, and we see, instead of Michael's face, which I think would be a really a big misstep for a lot of fans to see any of Michael's face. But if we saw like burnt, charred flesh on his face, like, would that be different? You know, having just seeing like the disfigured part of his face on the side, the burnt black part has come off.
You know, they didn't go this direction, but I'm sure they had the opportunity to think about it. Spoiler alert. In Resurrection, at the end of the film, the mask is essentially melted onto the face. They probably thought about that for Kills. Hey, we could, basically merge the face with the mask if we felt so led, but they chose not to go that direction. That doesn't necessarily mean that there was no burn damage, because as we know, the mask itself has burns. The mask would have shielded you to a certain extent, but
it would have shielded you to like almost no extent,
flesh.
but
yeah.
The one thing I would say though is, we're speaking as if the mask, melts and molds to the face almost. The trailer kind of kills that though, because we know the mask comes off in the trailer, spoiler alert. So like it's not like it's stuck, like maybe parts of the mask are still stuck to the face. But we know for a fact that mask comes off. They show it in the trailer, so it's not like you can't get the mask off.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be a brand new mask at this point, because why not? Like if you're already going off the path this much, a new mask makes sense.
It's going to have to be, like I said, the posters really lead me to believe that it's going to be something different that they can throw on a poster. So that would be my number one reason why it's going to be something different, but who knows what direction they're going to go. But I think it's very telling that they're showing you on those posters, like the very close up difference between the mask in both movies. And I mean, it would be really dumb for them to have, like a Star Wars style poster for the third poster, with a bunch of characters on it or something, or even something to do with a pumpkin or something like that. That would be great, to call back to some of the other posters of the past. But we have a very clear 1 and 2 poster that are zoomed like,
let me
right in on your face. So
them up just so I don't know if anybody, I kind of got lost there during your explanation. That because I was replying to Lee too. Just want to pull both posters up, that way we know exactly what you're referring to. But I know for a while we were saying, well, hey, the Halloween Ends poster is likely going to be like a frontal view of the mask. And to me, that has never made more sense than it does right now, especially if it's a new mask. You show the new mask off from the front. That's how you reveal the new mask. That's how they revealed that mask.
It makes sense, because the first poster is like this. The second poster is like this. So for the third poster to be more of a right on and to show off whatever new mask that he gets, and obviously it's all speculation, but being right front and center would be cool. Would lead me to believe that they're going to do something as well, like the possibility of them doing something not completely new, but maybe something different than just having a plain white mask looking like the first movie. Unless they really want that nostalgia of making it look like it's the original mask back. I don't know. But really talking it out right now, and right now we're having immediate reactions knowing all this stuff. It really seems to me like he'll get a new mask, and we'll have something new for the poster, and the posters will all make sense in a nice lineup. I know that the posters aren't the most important thing for the movie either, but they're done in that way for a reason. So
I'm gonna pull them up right here. I think I know what you're referring to, but like it makes it makes sense to me, anyways.
Well, I'm just saying, 80% of the posters behind you are mask. Like it's all mask. There's no other people. There's no little tiny heads. There's no, what it's showing you is the mask and the mask. So the next poster is probably the mask. So
I see Lee's actually in here right now. I just want to give Lee a shout out again. If you missed it earlier, it's that guy's birthday. Happy Mother Canuck. I know you're not Canadian, man, but happy Mother Canucking birthday to you, dude. I seen your age listed on Facebook, and I just don't believe it. You don't look a day older than 30, 32, 33, in that range. So, wow. The genes that you have, good sir. But again, if you're just joining the stream now, we're to briefly recap, we had a stream we did a few months ago where we said a Halloween Ends script had leaked, and we're not into distributing that shit or anything like that. And we were pretty positive it was fake because it didn't take place on the same night. And basically every other major channel that covers Halloween on YouTube has all said, including us, has said that it takes place on the same night. And this one person, this one source has been adamant that it did not. And that person was right, because it does not. Halloween Ends takes place, as David Gordon Green puts it, and you'll see it tomorrow in Total Film. And that's all we'll say about the magazine. Go buy the film for the rest. As David Gordon Green puts it, it's going forward a few years. And they also said, they literally say in the magazine, that was not the original plan. The original plan was one night, and because of the pandemic, they changed course. I don't know why. Someone obviously came up with a new idea. It's pretty, whether you like the call or not, it's a ballsy move. Wouldn't you agree, guys?
Yeah,
for sure. It's who knows? We can only speculate why they did it, but it's definitely like they thought something was better. So
jumping in real quick, Sean, you had a message highlighted on a screen a couple minutes ago. Someone in the chat was asking, where can they purchase the mag? Did we give feedback on that? I missed that.
It's at all major newsstands.
Yeah. If you can't find it at, say, your local pharmacy or whatever, your newsstand, whatever, to help people who actually buy magazines anymore. I looked it up real quick, and it looks like you can buy digital issues. So I don't know if they post at midnight or how that works, but you should be able to find it one way or another. Yeah,
my guess is probably by, if it's not at midnight Eastern, it would be by 3 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, like 3 a.m. because that's midnight Pacific. So
Netflix and all that shit. So, but yeah, no, it's exciting, but it's worrisome. If they just would have said, yeah, Halloween Ends takes place 3 years later in the magazine, it's like, okay, cool. It's different than what everybody said. Cool. But the fact that they literally dictate that, it's like, yeah, so this wasn't our plan, but we ended up doing this anyways because of the pandemic. And Lee pointed out in the chat that he had suspicion the pandemic might change things with the Halloween End script. And it appears that is the case. Again, apologies for the last time to the source that had this right the entire time. You definitely deserve the credit. And yeah, I just really hope the mine shaft, crap rumors that came out is not real. That's too My Bloody Valentine for me. And again, so Drum Dum says, got to have that physical copy. I'm not a big magazine guy. Kieran, I don't know. I know you collect. Are you a big magazine guy?
Not for a long time. I used to like to collect football and wrestling magazines and things like that, but that's like 10 years ago.
I'm typically about physical books and even graphic novels and stuff like that. But I'll take an ebook or something like that if I get it cheap enough.
The problem here is there's not a lot of stores that sell too many magazines anymore. Before, you could go into like a variety store up here and they had a shit ton of magazines. Now the selection, it's just because everything's digital now, right?
They don't sell. That's the big issue.
Limited. But I'm telling you, by the way, the 3 images that were released online, really none of them are new. They're all different angles of images that we've already seen in trailers and or previous releases. There are new images in that magazine. Somehow I was staring at one and did not notice it was a new image. So between the new images, between the Halloween Kill stuff, and there's a shit ton of it, and then the Halloween End stuff that nobody was expecting, this magazine is obviously worth buying. And I absolutely agree with needing to have a physical copy of this version. If you got, or of this magazine, if you guys have a Chapters or an Indigo, or I guess what's the big one in the States, Barnes and Nobles or Barnes and Noble. Is that the big book / magazine store down there?
You know, Barnes and Noble's been waxing and waning over the years, but yeah, they're probably arguably the biggest bookseller still.
And even Kieran put it in the chat, Indigo in Canada still. I think some of them are still called Chapters, like the one in Ajax. But even them, like their magazine section used to be massive. It's still pretty big, but it's not as big as it used to be. Just print, much like physical media, is becoming less available as we go. But it's supposed to be on sale tomorrow, at least in the United States. It might not be available up here. You're going to want to go buy it. It's a big time thing. And again, I don't know if we even would have done this. Like, if we didn't get the report that we ran for you guys a few months ago about Halloween Ends, not taking place on the same night, and we even called it out as BS, maybe not so ignorantly, we probably don't run this because I don't want to spoil the magazine and the total film stuff. And we're not, because there's so much other crap in there that you'll be able to see. But one of the people that have given us a lot of information over the last year and a half did say that this was legit months ago. And we didn't believe them. And to their credit, they were right. And we were wrong. Guys, final thoughts before we wrap this up here shortly on what has really been a whirlwind day. It's only the morning too. Holy fuck. Mike's gone to the Milwaukee Bucks parade. Mike, be safe. Be safe, my dude. Whenever there's hundreds of thousands of people somewhere, things are crazy. So be safe, man. And thanks for coming out for this. Guys, does this change anything for you for Halloween Kills and how you approach the movie, even though we've all, read the script?
Does it change the movie?
Like, just does it change your approach to the movie? Because me, it kind of does. I thought this whole time that, okay, Frank, correct me if I'm wrong. This is what you said. I can't remember. Sorry, memory shot here. There was always the idea that Halloween Ends would end much like Halloween 2 did in 1981, as the sun is coming up in the morning, and that's Halloween ending. But in theory, Halloween doesn't end for a few years. Like, live hell for years.
It's pretty interesting. It kind of takes away our preconceptions we might have already had about the film and puts us in uncharted territory. It's a little bit, it's unsettling to a certain extent, but it's also exciting. I started the stream off by being a bit of a Debbie Downer, saying I was hoping this would be contained into, like, if not the same night, like, sequential wise, maybe the movie ends the following night or something. I don't know how they would do it, or, the top story, whatever you want to say. But now that's not the case anymore. We don't know where Michael's been post kills. We don't know what other characters, other key players might have been doing that are going to appear in Ends. So it's unsettling, really. You get to look at this with brand new eyes. How about you, Kieran? Where are you at?
I'm just gonna fly in here with my cape and save the day from all the negative people, and say that this gives us a lot more things that we can report on. This gives us a lot more things that we can think about going into it as small little pieces, bits and pieces, and pictures, and things leak out. This is good for us who like to come in and talk about this, because when we see a picture from Halloween Ends forever later, when we start getting into magazines and leaked this and this, that, and like, this gives us a lot more to be able to speculate on where does this image come from, or learning about this character or the people who get cast when we find out what roles they are. Like, this gives us a lot more that we can speculate on. So it's going to be fun. It doesn't at all change my approach to, how I'm going to go see the movie no matter what. Like we always said, they could do a lot of things and I'm still going to go see the movie. And I really hate going into a movie thinking that it's going to be good or bad. So I try my best not to do that. It's actually better to go into a movie thinking that it's going to be bad, because then if it's even slightly good, you're like, wow, that was better than I thought. And if you think a movie is going to be really, really good, then it's worse, because then if the movie's just a little bit below that expectation, you're like, it's kind of a bummer, man. So I try not to do either of those things. I try not to have a lot of expectations. This is not going to change at all my going into the movie. It just gives me a little bit more of an open mind about what can happen. And I think that's exciting. I'm not at all down about that.
I think Lee's with you there. Lee had just said, see, my chat is lagging, guys. I don't know if you guys are having this problem too, but Lee had said it makes the ending much more interesting to Kills. So I just sent you guys something in the private chat, because we're obviously not going to spoil Halloween Kills here. But there's a certain amount of events that happen in the movie that made us kind of go, well, how the fuck does that work for Halloween Ends on the same night? Unless you're going to like full on parody it. Which
you have to use your imagination a little bit.
I guess so, but I'm with Lee on this one. First of all, Lee, I didn't know that you had actually read the script. Maybe you had said that already. Again, my memory's kind of shot today. But to me, this makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of things that happen in that last act where people are going to be like, oh, and now they're jumping a few years later. Now it's not so limited. Now you have an infinite number of possibilities of how you can end it, other than the fact they've come out right and said Halloween Ends is basically the first ever Halloween blockbuster done on a huge scale. Or sorry, Halloween Kills, not Ends. And Halloween Ends is going to be much more smaller and intimate. And even though it's not in the same night, it is going to be much more smaller and much more intimate. So that stuff sticks. We're going to do 15 minutes of Q&A, guys. If you want to send in a super chat, you can feel free to do that. You don't have to. Any questions that you guys have, send them in now, and we will answer as many of them as we can over the next 15 minutes. Avoid spoilers. Anthony, I saw your question a couple of times. We're going to lead off with that. I'm just trying to find it, man. Avoid spoilers. Don't spoil anybody in the chat, and we'll have some fun. The floor is yours for the last 15 minutes. Again, you can support the channel if you want, but if you can't do that or you just don't want to, just click the like button, and we're going to read as many questions as we can here to end the show. And by the way, if any of you guys go out and purchase the Halloween Kills Total Film magazine, which the cover does look badass, hit us up on the Fandom Empire Den or on Twitter at Fandom Empire Now, or Tommy via Carrier Pigeon. It all works. And actually, before we get to Anthony's question, Bianca says, what was the news? I just got here. The news, which is quite shocking, Halloween Ends does not take place on the same night as Halloween 2018 or Halloween Kills. It doesn't even take place 1 year later. I want to be open to the idea that maybe it's 2 years later, just because it could be. But the article clearly says a few years later, and I liked, oh man, who said it in the chat earlier? It was a super chat that I no longer have access to, but we did read it. Someone pointed out maybe they're trying to get up to the current time so that when Halloween Ends releases in 2022, barring any setbacks, that, hey, it's 2022 in the story as well. There's not really a reason to do that, but, who knows what happens here.
It means they can have all the newest iPhones in the movie.
Yeah. Save on production costs, because the production costs did go up for Halloween Kills. Really, it was supposed to be triple the budget of Halloween 2018, but they saved, I think it's the $7 million on the rebate from filming in Wilmington, North Carolina. All right, let's kick this thing off. Anthony Stanfield, do you think they're going this route in N so that they continue with more movies? I would say this. It is, to me, and it's subjective, but to me, The second they went off that course that they originally had planned, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Even though it's titled Halloween Ends, if the movie makes $300 million, not saying it will, but if it did, then yeah, another movie's possible. If they were already willing to go this far off route once, they'd probably do it again. It wouldn't surprise me either if Carpenter is far less involved in Halloween Ends than Halloween Kills and Halloween 18. Who knows? But yeah.
We've speculated in the past that after Ends, they're probably going to take a few year break and come back for the big anniversary. There's nothing saying that, I mean, maybe contractual there is, that they can't use that anniversary, celebration. Again, it's all speculation. Picking up where Ends leaves off. There's nothing saying they can't do that.
Kieran, how about you? Do you think that changing this far off course makes the possibility of another movie in this timeline more possible?
No, I don't think they're gonna. I think the title being Ends.
The title could change though. We're a year and a half out. They changed the title to Return of the Jedi. What was it? Who was alive in 1983? I want to.
It was Revenge of the Jedi.
Jedi up until like a month before the movie came out.
Yeah, but that was 40 years ago, and the title was changed because Revenge sounded too mean for kids.
They changed the title again, only this time it's with a Halloween movie. Halloween Ends? ?
I still think it's going to be a trilogy. If it does make a lot of money and they want to bring it back, it'll be like any other horror movie where they're just like, hey, Michael's not dead. I mean, we don't know if he dies and Ends, but they'll be like, he's not dead because he's fucking a ghost and he can come back, and it's anything, right? There's an unlimited amount of reasons why Michael can come back in 3 years after Ends and terrorize someone else or some other town, or they make another new timeline or whatever. It doesn't matter. They could do whatever they want. So
Mike says, Michael on the run for 3 years. The way Halloween Kills goes, man, I don't know if I would call it Michael on the run. I would call it more Michael reappears after 3 years, or maybe Halloween Ends doesn't take place in Haddonfield at all, and there's something we talked about a few months ago anyways, that seemed to give that as the indication.
I'm someone who's very hesitant about the idea of Michael Myers ever truly being quote unquote on the run. Are there times where he's kind of backstepped a little bit? Sure. But sure as hell he's not hiding, cowering in fear. He's getting ready to recoup or make a sly move or whatever in all the different films.
Frank Record says, so maybe the future leaked end script will be fake. Who knows, man? All I'll say is when I got to read what had came out, I thought it was fan fiction, because to that point it was already like everybody was saying it was the same night. Everybody, and including us. So like I was just so dismissive of it. That, and we were a few months removed from a My Bloody Valentine stream that didn't go so well, that it was kind of like, oh, this sounds like somebody who's a fanboy of that movie. And
that movie was ass.
I'm here to tell you the person that had handed that off is the same person that was adamant about Halloween Ends is not the same night. And I was like, well, that's not what I hear. We usually don't run stuff unless we hear it from more than one person. So we didn't. And yeah, I think I've reiterated that a bunch of times, but I know there's been a bunch of different people in here. Let's see, what else do we have here? I don't know if you guys can see the questions or not. Like I said, it's been lagging for me.
I've been semi-active in the chat here, but
that's so embarrassing. Everyone's saying evil dies tonight in Kills. Well, I think that's the intention. Halloween Kills is a mob movie. You think a mob against one dude. Yeah, evil dies tonight. Except clearly, if there's a Halloween Ends, it's not a big spoiler to be like, or it doesn't. So sometimes evil wins. Have you seen the Planet Earth? Have you seen Jeffrey Bezos? No, I'm kidding. I've been on a Bo Burnham Burnham kick as of late.
You don't say.
Yeah, right. Toronto Friday. I'm excited to finally see Michael and Laurie get intimate in Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
That sounds like the Johnny version of Halloween Ends.
Sounds like some Luke and Leia stuff going on here.
I mean, they've tried a lot of ways to make Michael go away. They've never fucked him.
Oh, that's cool. I have a Revenge of the Jedi poster hanging on my wall. I don't have much interest in having a Return of the Jedi poster down here in the studio. I know it's Kieran's favorite. I'm not saying I hate it. It's just it's somewhere in the middle for me, right? What movie could follow up Empire and not receive some criticism? But man, if I could get my hands on a Revenge of the Jedi poster, I would totally have that on display.
Probably
down
not
here.
that difficult. I'm sure they're on the public market.
Maybe. I put it right behind Kieran for when he's in studio, and he can have Revenge of the Jedi up there. Halloween, the Revenge Ends.
I want a Halloween eats ass poster. I don't know if you've been.
Halloween eats ass. There's been a lot.
Yeah, you can buy them. You can buy them. I mean, I didn't check Amazon. See,
24 by 36 though. Yeah, that's all I keep down here. Really, is 24
by 27, 24 by 36 on Amazon.com. They want $20 for it.
I remember watching an episode of Pawn Stars, that with Rick Harrison and Chumley and those guys, and a guy brought in an original Return of or Revenge of the Jedi poster, and it was a big deal. That's when I first heard about that whole thing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Best I can do is $3.
Right. I do. The show is right though when they say, the market value might say it's this, but in reality, it's only worth what someone's willing to give you for it.
Yeah, no, it's always true. It's like when you're going to sell something, you don't go on eBay and say, what are people selling it for? You go to eBay and you click sold listings and you see what people actually bought it for. Because I can, I'm thinking about selling. I have a PS4. I'm not really playing it. I'm thinking about selling it. If I go on and I look at what everyone else is selling it for, that's showing me, where everyone else can get it, for what. But then if you click on sold listings, you find out what people actually paid for it and have actually decided. Same thing with hockey cards a lot. People will go on and be like, this rookie card is worth $400. And you're like, dude, some guy bought it on eBay last week for $60. So
and it's obviously not sometimes you are better off just trading it in. You are sometimes just better off, especially when they do promotions to get something else.
I just don't play video games. I would rather play Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. I can get hooked into playing those for a while. Playing these new video games that come out is just not the same, man. It's a different animal altogether. It's more like watching a movie than anything. Video games back in the day were challenging and crazy and drove you nuts. And, now you're just kind of like going through the motions to see the next video.
Frank says he stayed hidden between H2O and Resurrection. Now that you point that out, when you look at like past Halloween movies and gaps in between them and how they continue, and this is a scary thing to point out because I don't really like either of those movies. That's the closest to that this Halloween Kills Halloween Ends scenario we've ever seen. That's pretty spot on. So,
unless he gets saved by a hobo again.
And I'll say this, we're far enough removed from the Halloween Returns movie that almost got made that, hey, if they change the title from Halloween Ends to Halloween Returns for the last one or the supposed last one, I could see that now being a few years later. Halloween Returns. But Kieran's probably right. They're likely sticking with Ends, but who knows? Just because they announced something years ago doesn't mean it's going to stay the same anymore at this point.
There's a lot of, you can go Halloween Returns, Halloween Forever, Halloween, there's a lot of cliche titles you could put up there, and I'm sure they'll pick one of them for the next.
Michael Goes Commando.
Yeah.
Anybody want to take a shot at this name? I'm not doing it.
La
I'll call you.
Bruja Gritando.
All right. Did the script for Ends you read was good? Well, I never read a full script for Ends, and I have nothing here to verify that it's real other than it came from there was two of them that leaked. One was supposed to take place the same night, which is obviously fake. And the other one, which I thought was fake, but comes from the same person that had all this shit right months ago. No, the first 15 or 20 pages read very fan fiction-y, and that's scary if it's real. That's very scary. Not saying it is. Endless possibilities
We're
now.
all hope for the endless possibilities. And plus, they could always probably spin a new script if they wanted to. Who the hell knows, right?
Toronto Freddy's like, you can't get shit on Amazon.ca. You're right.
I replied, and we here at Fandom Empire, the team, some of us down here in the States and y'all up in the land of the Maple Leaf go back and forth sometimes with any number of things y'all were looking for. You can't get shit, and I just can't believe it. Come on, Jeffrey Bezos got the money to make that happen.
You know what you can get on what is it, T Republic?
T Public? Yeah.
T Public. Yep.
You can get Fandom Empire shirts.
Yes, you can. Mm-hmm.
Fandom Empire shirts. Yes. The T Public link I can grab here in a second.
I can do it.
Let's ask the chat, though. This is my final question to the chat for the show. Simple yes, no, or don't know. Are you guys happy that Halloween Ends does not take place on the same night as the other two films? Are you happy that Halloween Ends does not take place on the same night as the other two films? Comment in the chat and we'll read some of them off here as I take some time and try to grab this TeePublic link for you guys and put it up there. We've actually had quite a bit of merch get ordered already, which is it's awesome. It's not a massive amount, but like, why? I'm not a robot. Let me log into the damn account.
I think I'm putting in another order for it soon because I know that my wife wants a shirt, my brother wants a shirt. I've had a few people, so I think I'm going to throw in another order soon too.
Let's see. What's the chat saying here?
How can you not want a I guess I'll go fuck myself shirt? Who doesn't want that?
By the way, have you watched that thing yet, Tommy?
This weekend's when I'm doing the wash. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but it will appear if we don't go live before on Tuesday. We might go live before. We never know.
Well, we'll be live tonight with Fandom Empire now as
I'm not going to be there. So
as Mike and I go over the Fear Street trilogy as a whole, and then tomorrow night you can catch IPC. Cannot remember what they're talking about. And then Tuesday we have Fandom Empire live. Although the Total Film magazine comes out tomorrow, and I'm sure there's details that we're not talking about right now that might be worth doing a pop-up afternoon stream at or whenever tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see what happens, or maybe we save it till Tuesday, or let another channel get to it first. But we get La Bruja Gritando, as Tommy said, says yes. Adrian, yes. Solid, yes. Dan says, I'm bummed out, but I'll come around to it. Aaron says, yes. Adrian says, I'm glad because it could have easily been rushed and it's still the same day. Because it's still the same day. Yep. Mixed on it. Hell yeah. Not sure yet. There's all sorts of different actions in here. And Toronto Freddy says, couldn't care less as long as it suits the narrative. I agree. At the end of the day, if they tell a good story, I'm all for it.
Quickly, I think IPC is talking about Game of Thrones.
No, that's our IPC, and that's August 9th.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
No, Ben's not going to talk about Game of Thrones. No.
No?
But yeah, no, our IPC discussion, which I believe is going to be a public stream. Maybe not. I don't know how Zach put that, but Game of Thrones. If not, you'll be able to get it on the IPC Patreon or on our Patreon. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us. A 45-minute stream turned into an hour and 45-minute stream, but we've done a lot of streams on this channel. I don't know if anything has been like a a massive punch in the face to what the expectation was than this one today. It feels like a Friday, but it's a Thursday. Total Film Magazine on bookshelves most places tomorrow. If you want to get it confirmed, what we're talking about is true, unless the source somehow, photoshopped a completely accurate picture of Michael Myers standing in a certain location, and then also photoshopped David Gordon Green giving James Jude Courtney instruction on the set of Halloween Kills without his mask on. I don't think they're that good at it, so you can safely assume Halloween Ends does not take place on the same night like all of us content creators said it would, which who knows what happens now. Kieran, where can everybody find you at, man? Thanks for doing this.
You guys can find me in the Fandom Empire Den. You can find me on the Rick and Morty Fan Show Facebook group. You can find me at Gogan Kieran on Twitter. And you can find me around here all the time, guys, or just add me as a friend on Facebook. I've recently made friends with a bunch of people who are probably in the chat right now. So, yeah, cool. I'm around. I'm easy to find.
Sorry, 1 second here. Again, if there was any question about the legitimacy of any of this, when you buy your magazine tomorrow, and just to prove, like, you look closely here, all I'm going to show is a picture. It's most definitely not photoshopped. So yeah, Halloween Ends. A few years later, who the fuck knows what happens now? Maybe it'll actually be Halloween Season of the Witch Part 2.
Sure.
The story never hit the proper conclusion. Tommy, where can everybody find you at, man?
Everyone can find me going and fucking myself on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those good places. Fandom Empire Den, Twitter and Instagram at TommyB1650.
Good shit, man. Good shit. Big thank you to all the Fandom Empire Patreons. You can join today, www.patreon.com/Fandom Empire. As I try to put this in the chat and butcher it, since multitasking is not my fucking friend today, apparently. There you have it. Patreon, right there. And you know what? If you can't support us on that level, that's fine. Click the like button, hit subscribe. It all helps. And I'll be really curious to see how the other content creators react to this news or attempt to dance around the news, or some of them might just be in pure denial. Who knows? I know when I first, got the message this morning, I was in denial, and then I seen the proof, and I was like, oh, fuck. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tonight for Fandom Empire Now. On behalf of the chat mods, Tommy and Kieran, I'm Sean. Take care, and don't forget, the boogeyman is coming.
Just way later than we thought.
Way later. Like, he's way later. His longevity is off the books.